Good morning. My name's Tony. I'm the lead pastor here at Gateway. I just would like to say hello to all of our guests again, and just grateful that you're here, as well as those of you watching online. I know a lot of you will check us out online before you ever come and check us out here, so we're glad that you're online with us. And we hope to see you sometime soon. We're starting this new summer series. Pretty cool, huh? I heard somebody say they want t-shirts. Like a special Gateway t-shirt. I'll let you stop laughing about that for a moment. Yeah. Right? So somebody said we want t-shirts. So we are in this new series. It's a longer series. It's going to be 8 to 9 weeks long. It'll take us through the summer. And it's called Summer on the Mount. So it's about the Sermon on the Mount. In case you didn't figure that one out already, right? It's about the Sermon on the Mount. We have Bible studies planned on Wednesday nights starting this week. So we're going to hit on the major topics of the Sermon on the Mount and preach on those. But then Wednesday nights, if you want to come out here at 6:30, we're going to just kind of dig in and break things down, get a little geeked out and nerdy on things. And if you like that, come on out. Pastor Brett and I will be team teaching some of that stuff. I'll let him do the geeking and nerding, and I'll do the other thing, whatever that is. So come out on Wednesday nights and be a part of that. But we have these Bible studies. You can also join the text series. If you text to our text number, we'll have that up here at the end, the word summer. You'll get a daily text. We're shooting to do about 4 or 5 a week, not every single day, but throughout this series, just to help you dig in. What our goal is by the end of the summer that you have spent your summer on the Mount, and there's no better place to spend your time than in the teaching of Jesus. And there's probably no bigger compilation and more important compilation of Jesus' teachings than Matthew's Sermon on the Mount. It covers chapters 5, 6, and 7. It is thorough. And if you want to know what Jesus thinks and what Jesus has to say to us and his followers and the way the world should be and will be, the Sermon on the Mount is the place to be. So I'm going to start today by saying this. We spend our lives, I think I have a slide for you. I have a lot of slides, so those guys are going to be busy back there. So just be patient with them. I will be too. We spend our lives, see, I can't even type. We spend our lives trying to achieve the good life, don't we? But the good life is rarely achieved through the things we think will make us happy. We spend our lives trying to achieve the good life, but the good life is rarely achieved through the things that we think will make our life happy or good. I think that we misunderstand the word blessings. How many of you have a friend? Don't raise your hand. How many of you have a friend? Maybe they're sitting next to you. How many of you have a friend on social media who loves to post their exotic vacation pictures? Right? Now, you know the pictures I'm talking about. They're sitting on the beach. They decide to take a picture of just their feet in the sand, and there's the ocean, and it says, so blessed. Right? Anybody? Go ahead and raise your hand. Is the person sitting next to you, or are they in the room? Raise your hand. Now, personal disclosure, I am not passing judgment here. Not at all, because I'm pretty sure I'm guilty of this too. When we are living what we think's the good life, right? When we are feeling blessed, we like to tell people, look at this, look how blessed I am, right? Now, how many of you are sitting in the room when that post comes across? It's the middle of January. You're sitting in 7 inches of snow. Maybe you're out of work. Maybe your bank account is broke. Maybe you're sick. How many of you in that moment feel a lot of joy for your friend? No, right? You don't feel joy. You're not feeling blessed. I mean, I'm back here in the winter. I don't have any money. I can't take a vacation. I haven't had a good vacation in 2 years. Maybe you're sitting there thinking, why are you blessed and I'm not? What makes you so blessed? Because blessed are those who take great vacations? You see where I'm going with this? This is the problem that many of us have in chasing the good life. We misunderstand what it means to be blessed. We think that if we do what I need to do and I'm good in God's eyes, that somehow a good God's going to give me good things, and me sitting on the beach in the middle of winter and having this exotic vacation is somehow a blessed life. Maybe God will give me an exotic vacation if I'm just a little better. Or maybe I'll win the lottery or get that house I want or get that job I want and get that bank account that I want and that retirement that I want. And you see, too often we tie God's blessings to our success, our health, our wealth, our family situation, our jobs. We think people are blessed when they have a nice home or a good job, enough money to be comfortable. Look how blessed they are. But what do we think when people struggle? When people are hurting? When good things aren't happening to them? When they're weak or sick or unimportant or poor, or maybe they're just down and out? What do we think of them? Cursed? And the question is, can you be blessed and be that too? So I was studying for this message, and I was going through some articles and reading articles, and I found an article written several years ago by a man named Ed Dwyer in the Saturday Evening Post. And here's the title of his article in Saturday Evening Post is this: Contrariwise, you are not blessed. And he argues that the word blessed has lost its unique meaning. It's lost its unique meaning because of the result of the fact that we overuse it, and we use it when it's not really supposed to be used, and we commercialize it. In the article, he says something like this, but, quote unquote, but it is on Facebook, where dignity and self-restraint go to die, that you encounter some truly cringeworthy claims. And he gives 3 of them. One of his friends posted on their Facebook, he says, a picture of them and said, "I feel so blessed to be catching the sunset at a rum bar in Florida." And he quipped and said, "Wow, blessed are the vacationers," right? Another shared a photo, a German potato salad, and he commented, "I feel so blessed to have found my old family recipe." Another posted that they felt super blessed because in the last minute, they got an upgrade to first class on their way to a conference. Blessed are those who sit in first class. And here's what he says: What galls me about these and similar assertions is the arrogance of it all. The presumption that the Lord has deigned to bless you out of the billions of people on earth over something like potato salad and an upgrade. Ouch. This dude's not even a Christian. But the article speaks to the deeper issue of how and who we see as truly blessed. When we tie our happiness to our success, to our health and our wealth and our families and our jobs, then these become the very things that we chase after. If I feel like being blessed has to do with my money or my health or my success or how good I look or my job or my family, then these become the things that we seek the most in our life. But ask anyone who has achieved all of these things, and they will tell you that they do not bring the good life. Success, health, wealth, and more. You will find people who have achieved all of these things that we would say they've achieved it all. And they will tell you they still feel unhappy and unsatisfied. So I did a search on this topic, and here are just a couple of headlines that I saw on the internet. Strategy and Business Magazine. Why aren't successful people happier? Number 2, why the super successful get depressed in Forbes magazine. Psychology Today, successful and still unhappy. These are the title of magazine articles. Obviously, non-Christians who aren't even believers or following God, they see this in the real world. And if you're here today and you're not a Christian, you're saying, well, this is all Christian stuff. No, you don't even have to be a Christian to know that this is true. Harvard Business Review, why success doesn't lead to satisfaction. Harvard says that 79% of Americans believe they'll be happier if they can just get more money. 72% of successful entrepreneurs suffer from depression and other mental health concerns. So the general consensus of all of these non-religious magazines is this: success doesn't guarantee happiness. It doesn't mean you're blessed somehow by God because you're successful. So the stories are numerous. The people who have achieved and received all the things that they thought would make them happy. And those people are some of the most unhappy and unsatisfied people in the world. Maybe you've experienced that. Maybe you have saw and thought, this is going to make me happy. This is going to make me satisfied. This is going to calm me down and make me settle in and just be content. And you achieve it, and then all of a sudden you realize you're not content and you go on to the next thing. But that is what all of us long for. In our hearts, we are all longing to be happy. We want to be happy. We want to have a sense of blessedness. And this is where the Sermon on the Mount intersects with our lives. It's about a way of living that brings the good life, but it's an unexpected life. It's a little bit of a surprise. It's a little bit of a, say what? Kind of deal. When Jesus begins to talk to people who are poor and broken and under Rome's foot, they're imprisoned and they're sick and they're powerless and they're on the fringes of society. They're hurting people. And he looks to them and he gives us this huge surprise, and they think they're cursed. And he turns to them and he actually says, no. Because you are who you are, you're blessed. Surprise. It's about a way of living that brings the good life for us, but also for those in our life. So it's Jesus's, I like to call it Jesus's manifesto. His teaching and his interpretation on the wisdom of the Old Testament. He takes all of his religious background and his understanding, and he brings all of this in his God Spirit way to bring reality to the people and a wisdom that brings the old text of his day to life. Jesus lays out for us a way of life, one that we were intended to live from the beginning, one that goes against the world's view of what it means to be happy and to be blessed. So let's jump in. The Sermon on the Mount has a very distinct structure. There's actually 3 major parts to this, and we'll dig into some of this on Wednesday nights. But there's an introduction. The introduction is Jesus' Beatitudes, if you will. He talks about us being salt and light and things like this. So there's this introduction in the first part of chapter 5 there. And this is sort of Jesus lays out this counterintuitive identity to the kingdom. He says, I know you think you know what the kingdom's about. I know that you think that people are rich, and you see those people over there and they've got money and power, and you look at the Pharisees and you think, wow, how good is their life? Look how blessed they are. But I'm telling you, poor, hurting, weak, unimportant people, the kingdom is for you, not them. And that just blows them away. So the introduction is really Jesus giving an identity of what the kingdom is and who the people who belong into the kingdom are. And then there's this main section. It's this giant section in the middle, chapter 6 and parts of 7. And you could call this whole section, Jesus gives a greater righteousness. He lays it out, practicality, how we live, the way we do relationships, marriage, divorce, all of that. So he lays all this stuff out in this section. And we'll get to that in future sermons. But then he closes and gives people a choice in chapter 7. You know the famous, if a man went and built a house on his sand, and then a man went and built his house on rock and all that. This is the end of the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus gives people a choice. Now I've laid it out for you. It's your choice now. How are you going to live? Then he goes in, closes with that choice that he gives people. But then when we are in the Beatitudes, and we're going to be in the Beatitudes today. So I'm going to go down through them and break them up. There's 3 main parts to the Beatitudes. I know I'm geeking you out now. Brett, I just went all geeky on them. I didn't mean to do that. I apologize. Maybe I did mean to do that. So we're in the Beatitudes, and he's identifying these people who are out there, and he's teaching to these people. Maybe these people are very much like us, on the fringes of society. They don't have power. Maybe they're sick. They're not wealthy, or they just are average, everyday people. And he begins to identify, and he talks about what it means to be truly blessed. And the word that he uses is makarios, which has a meaning. It means someone you are thinking is experiencing blessing and abundance. It's kind of this idea of, wow, look how blessed they are. I don't mean the people on your social media that you're in the snow and they're in the sand and you're like, wow, look how blessed they are. I mean, you're really looking at these people thinking, man, if I could just be like them. If I could have their house and their job and their life, and look how blessed they are. And Jesus is saying to them, look at these blessed people. So look over there. That person is experiencing the good life. That's where we're at today. So I like to translate it, and I got this idea from the Bible Project, and we're going to use a lot of the Bible Project stuff with you guys because they're very good, very practical. They're videos. They've spent a lot of time and with videos and things. We're going to send you some of those to watch. But they actually translate this way. Instead of blessed are those who, instead we're going to say things like this. How good is life for, and fill in the blank. How good is life for, and fill in the blank. And we do, don't we? We fill in the blank. You're all thinking of somebody right now that you're thinking, wow, how good is life for? And you can fill in the blank. But when Jesus fills in the blank, it isn't what people might consider to be blessed or happy. So the first 3 Beatitudes describe these people. First one, Matthew chapter 5, verse 3. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Or you might say it this way. How good is life for the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of the skies. Spirit. Spirit is a concept or word that they had that described a person's life breath. It's their inner vitality. How many of you, as you get older, feel more vital? Right? That's what we're talking about, this vitality, this energy that they have for life. So if you're lacking energy, or you're feeling downcast and discouraged today, then you would be considered by them poor in spirit. The phrase can also be used to describe people who lack external power. They're the people on the margins of life. Their situation is such that they have no power to change it, no way to change it. They're at the mercy of their circumstances and other people because they have no power, no vitality. They too are poor in spirit. They aren't typical people we look at and say, wow, look at that really down and out dude. Isn't he blessed? Look at them experiencing being powerless. Doesn't seem like the good life, does it? And this is the surprise that Jesus drops on these powerless people. Why are they blessed? Because the kingdom of the skies is for them. It's an interesting way to say that, right? So we say heavens, and when we say heavens, we think the kingdom of heaven. We think of heaven, this place that you go to. But for them, they would have understood the heavens to be literally the skies, the stars and the moon and the sun. And they believed, the Hebrew people believed, that God lived in the heavens up above earth, and he hovered over. And this is the thing, that is his kingdom. It's up there, and we're suffering down here. Kingdom of the skies is God's heavenly reality, where everything is done according to his good will. There is mercy, there is love, there is justice, there is equality. And all of these things might as well be in the skies because they're not down here. We don't live in that world, but God does. And Jesus looks at them and says, those who are poor in spirit, listen, what is happening up there has now come down here. The reality that you want that happens in the skies is now your reality on earth. But Jesus says the kingdom has come and is coming. The unreachable kingdom in the skies is now reachable on earth because I'm here and I'm bringing this reality. Verse 4, blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Or you might say, how good is life for those who grieve, for they will be comforted. People lacking power often face a lot of hardship and grief and loss. There's a lot of grief in their life. But Jesus again announces, now is coming the kingdom. It's here. And you will be comforted even though you grieve. Those who grieve because they are poor in spirit will be comforted. Verse 5, blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Or you could say it this way, how good is the life for the unimportant, for they will inherit the earth. The Greek word is often translated meek, but the word isn't really about just being humble. It refers to those who have no influence in society, no influence in community. They're looked down upon. They're discarded. They're just unimportant people. And maybe you feel unimportant today. But Jesus says that you are part of the kingdom. You who are unimportant, listen, a day will happen when you will inherit the land, the earth. That means that at that point you'll be important. So these are the three Beatitudes that Jesus gives us. And the three really go together as a grouping. And this is a big surprise for the people. Jesus tells us this, life is good for whom life isn't good. See the upside down world there? Life is good, Jesus says, because the kingdom and the comfort and the inheritance are theirs. The good life isn't something we achieve on earth, but it's something that comes to us. And Jesus brings us that. So in Christ, we can have the good life. So then the next three Beatitudes. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Or you can say it this way, how good is life for those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. You know, I grew up my whole life thinking righteousness was about being good. Purity. Morality. And my guess is most of you probably grew up the same way. But as you get into the Sermon on the Mount, you realize the righteousness of Jesus is a little different than the righteousness of morality. And what I mean by that is when he says, unless your righteousness, and he says this later, and we'll get into this next few weeks, unless your righteousness becomes greater than that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, you will not inherit the kingdom of heaven. You will not enter in. You will not see it. What does he mean, righteousness so does that mean there's two kinds of righteousness? Yes. There is a religious moral righteousness that we often teach, but Jesus is talking about a different righteousness. When he says, how good is life for those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, what he's talking about is living in right relationship. The word literally means living in right relationship with God and others, treating people with fairness and justice. It literally means to hunger and thirst as though you hunger for and thirst for water, food and water, to be in right relationship with each other. That means when your relationships aren't right, it should be like you're starving to death. If I'm hungry and thirsty for it, it means there's a desire like food or water that hasn't been met. The good life is being unsatisfied with the disorder in the world. The broken relationships that we have between one another. It's a holy discontent, if you will. A longing to see relationships made right. And to be willing to do anything out of my way to make sure that that is made right, even admitting that I'm part of the problem. When people treat each other the way that Jesus taught us, it leads to healthy, satisfying relationships. When things are made right. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. How good is life for those who show mercy, for they will be shown mercy. Righteousness is about doing what is right and fair for others. Mercy is this, going beyond what is required. Mercy is going the extra mile with people. It's better understood as generosity. I will never forget, I had somebody in my church, and they're not here anymore, but we were talking about giving one time and doing things, and they actually made the comment, well, we give what's required. And I get that, and I understand that, but that's just what's required. Jesus is talking about going beyond what is required. Later we'll learn, he says, if somebody takes something from you, give them something else. If somebody asks you to go a mile, makes you go a mile, carry something a mile, go 2. This is what he's talking about. It's going beyond what is required. It's called mercy, giving someone what they don't deserve. And it's part of the equation of the good life because we will be given mercy in the measure in which we give it. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Maybe another way to look at that is how good is life for the pure in heart? They will see God. I'm on verse 8. Pure in heart. That's another one that I grew up thinking it's all about morality. It's all about being good, right? Being pure and being good. And this is something a little different. Jesus is actually getting at the heart of our motives. When we were in college, some friends of mine, we were going through these theology classes talking about these issues. And I'll never forget one of my friends, and after a church service one time, we were sitting there, and he asked me a question. He goes, do you think God could ever cleanse us purely of our motives? And wow, that was a deep question, because most of the time we think of God cleansing us of our behavior. But our motives. To be pure in heart, it's understood more about our motives and how we think. Listen, you can be a nice person to people and still have contempt for them. You can be devoted to God, but only do it for public praise. You can do all the right things for all the wrong reasons. Jesus is talking about having a heart that is pure of motives. To be pure of heart is about having your desires align with God's desires. To literally, to have your wishes and wants for someone to be the same as what God wishes and wants for them. Listen, this is a high calling. To have right relationships and to live life with mercy and generosity and to have these pure motives. But listen, for Jesus, this is what it means to be human. The right humanity, not one that's marred by sin and unrighteousness, broken relationships. The desire for what is good, what is beautiful, and above all, to desire God above all things. This is what Jesus came to give us. A new humanity, a restored humanity. He came to show us the way to live the good life. How good is life for those who are home in the kingdom and its ways? That's what these three Beatitudes mean. Jesus is saying, how good is life for people who love the kingdom and its ways, who love living life the way that I have showed you to live life. But, and quickly for the next three, warning sign. He gives these three, like, the kingdom is for these people, and this is what the people of the kingdom look like. The down and out, the weak, the poor, the people who have no power. But then he says, but this is the way that kingdom people love to live. But I'm going to warn you now, if you choose to follow, if you choose to accept the mission, danger. Danger ahead, because if you choose to follow and you choose to become a disciple and you begin to live this good life that goes counter-cultural to everything else, they're coming after you because you're shaking it up. You're risking their power and control over you and what they want out of life. And this brings us to our last three. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Or you could say, how good is life for the peacemakers? Now, I learned this early on in my college years, that peacemaker and peacekeeper are two different things. A peacekeeper will tell you anything you need to know just to keep the peace, even though there's conflict between people. But a peacemaker wades into the conflict and risks their own well-being to offer up nonviolent ways to accomplish reconciliation between people. God's kingdom is here, but not quite fully. So there's work that needs to be done, Jesus is saying. This is who God's kingdom is and who it's for. This is how they live. But if you live this way, it's going to get rough. But there's work that needs to be done. When it does come in fullness, it will bring peace between all people. So if you enter God's kingdom now and you're called to be a peacemaker, listen, this means entering into other people's conflicts and working creatively to open up a just and a generous path to reconciliation and peace. But this is dangerous. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness. You mean the kind of righteousness, not just being good. Don't be persecuted for just being a goody-goody. Be persecuted for trying to bring about right relationships between people. When you wade into the conflict and seek to bring this peace and justice and reconciliation, you will challenge the status quo, their power, and the full and the connected. More than likely, you will experience resistance from this because it challenges their authority. We might even get fired at from all sides. But if you work to bring about this peace and reconciliation, if the hunger that we have for right relationships is pure, if we reflect the loving ways of Jesus, and it's done for his sake, listen, the trouble is worth it. It's worth it. How good is life for you when people insult you and persecute you and spread evil lies about you? He goes on, you will be understood. And this is basically what Jesus is saying in these 3 Beatitudes here at the end. He's saying this: how good is life for those who risk their good life for the kingdom life. How good for us to step out and to follow and to honestly risk our good life for the kingdom life. To realize that my good life isn't so good if I'm not in the kingdom life. So first, I want to say this. It's important to understand that the Beatitudes are really a set of kingdom principles that if you apply them daily, life will be cultivated. Your life will be cultivated. Your family's life will be cultivated. The kingdom life around you will begin to grow and to show fruit. You'll cultivate a sense of humility, a sense of compassion and justice and mercy. When you embody these principles, you will create a positive impact in you and around you. You'll foster a more compassionate and just world. This is the kingdom that is coming. I'm not waiting to be taken out of here and away and the earth destroyed. I am looking forward to the kingdom coming in its fullness and Jesus in giving us the earth as an inheritance so that we might rule with righteousness, his righteousness, and all things will be brought to peace and justice. Your good life, listen, isn't so good if your power and your influence and your wealth are reserved to better your life and not the life of others. Your good life isn't so good if your drive is for more of what you think will give you that good life rather than your hunger and thirst for right relationships. Your good life.
To do that, you'll need to be online.
Anybody got an internet? It says I had to be online. Think about that. I don't need to be online to do these things. Your good life isn't so good if you're not wading into the mess of unrighteousness and injustice, and you're not working with Jesus to right the wrongs between people. You see, this is the beginning of a way of life. A way that Jesus will lay out for all of us to live. It's the beginning of a road. Listen, it's coming to a fork, and you will have to make a choice. Jesus' way or my way, the world's way. It's the beginning. You will have to make this decision. Do I follow Jesus and his way, or do I go my way and my understanding? Jesus has just given us an introduction by identifying this kingdom and those who are living in this kingdom, who this kingdom is for. And the decision is really yours and mine. Will you lean into this series? Will you engage with this series? Even if you can't be here, that's fine. It's all online. We're here on Wednesday nights. We're here to answer questions. But will you lean into this series with an honest and an open heart and ask yourself, am I the kind of person that the kingdom is for? Do I love and feel comfortable in this kind of kingdom? Will you allow the Spirit of Jesus to challenge your ideas about what the good life is? Will you lay down your life, that good life that you think you have, for the kingdom life that is truly good? And this is the risk. It's great. The risk is great, but the reward is greater. It's greater. There's nothing like seeing people come to peace and right relationships. And that's what righteousness is all about. Father, I thank you for your word, your time. I thank you for Jesus giving us these Beatitudes, this manifesto of what it means to be in the kingdom. Our prayer, Lord, is that as we live out our lives, we will begin to recognize what it truly means to be blessed. To be in right relationship with you and right relationship with others. To know that you have come for the poor, the weak, the unimportant, the down and out. Someone here today, Lord, is really struggling. Relationships are broken. Loss, hurt, pain. The kingdom's for them. Would you comfort them? Embrace them. Help them realize that all things will be made right. May we hunger and thirst for you, Jesus, in your name.